Good afternoon, wellness family. This is an incredible opportunity to welcome Charles on my YouTube channel. As you've known me, my name is Brodie and I've done a lot of IGTVs, and I'm excited now moving a lot of the people that I've interviewed and I've talked to moving to the YouTube channel. So I just want to welcome Charles all the way from Sydney, correct?
That's it, Bondi Beach.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time and energy. I know when I reached out to you, I reached out to a lot of people on Instagram, and what I love, what you did is you gave me your time, and regardless of how busy you were, you still protected your boundaries and still reached out to me. And I love the work that you were doing.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate that. It's good to be here.
So good. So before we dive into the questions, we'd love to know what's been alive for you in June, and what's been like processing for you before we dive in.
What's been live for me? Is that what you said?
Yeah, what's alive for you?
What's alive for me in June?
Yeah.
And what I've been processing. Okay. Like as in like what's going on with me and my kind of my life at the moment now. Is that, am I framing that correctly?
Yeah, we could go with that.
Okay. All right. At the moment, in June, I recently did a men's talk with 100 people there, live talk. That was a big stepping stone for myself, presenting in a large audience, and it's getting me into more public speaking, which is where I want to be going, and presenting live workshops and seminars. So that was a great step for me. Currently focusing on my business at the moment. So working with people, that's what I do on a daily basis, and really working on growing that and extending that further, reaching more people, focusing a lot on social media stuff. It's my birthday this month, so I'm planning to get away and take some time off. It's also some other personal things going on in my life, like with finances, investing, and romance as well. Recently, allowing myself to be more vulnerable in a romantic relationship, which has been exciting too. And yeah, that's a bit of a rundown of what's going on with me at the moment.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I love that with men's group and men's circle, the reason why I say what's alive for you, it's great to hear just emotion and about business and play. So thank you for jumping on and expressing your truth. So as I know, and some people are going to know when I put your Instagram tag and YouTube, like who is, and is it okay to call you Charles, or would you like?
Charles, yeah, you can call me Charles, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So who is behind the inspirational funny reels? So who is behind the Bondi health retreats? And there's a lot that you're running and doing. So I'd love to know, and I ask this a lot on people that I interview, like they've got the accolades, the name, the Instagram, the followers, like who are you behind all of this? I'd love to know.
Who am I?
Okay.
I'm a third. Who am I behind what I do? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I like to travel. I've got a dog, live in Bondi Beach, been here for the last 3 years. And yeah, I guess I'm on this journey of going deeper within myself and learning more about me and improving me. And I'm very passionate about that, and passionate about sharing that with other people as well. And yeah, apart from everything that I'm doing, I enjoy to spend lots of time in nature and connecting with people and experiencing the deep, meaningful components of life. And yeah, that's what I highly value.
That's beautiful. I love how the nature bit and putting yourself in that, because why I ask that, and you know, I sometimes have like a feel of like where I want to go, and then questions, and it's like it's really important to know, like coming from the heart. So these questions are coming from interested from me, but also the community as well. I've been watching this stuff, and I've had a chance to chat with a few people, and they've asked some questions they want to ask you. So you've talked about on your Instagram bio about like integrating your shadow And when you talk about that, are you talking about like your shadow work or just all general things with shadow?
So yeah, integrating the shadow would be shadow work. So shadow work is to integrate the shadow.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is integrating the unconscious parts of you to become conscious, so that you're a more integrated version of yourself, more authentic version of yourself. So commonly in our shadow, there's derives a lot of the undesirable parts of us, the parts of us that we deem undesirable, whether it be the jealous, envious, highly critical, judgmental, anxious, fearful parts of us that we have rejected, hidden, and suppressed because it's not as welcomed within what we believe our beliefs about society will welcome in. So we reject it and suppress it, and essentially construct this persona that we display within our general day-to-day lives. But then we're essentially missing out on living life as to our full potential, which is learning how to use these parts of us that can serve us really well in certain situations. And I guess the negative side of that is if the more we suppress and reject these parts of us, the more they build and fester and create, pent up emotions because we're not expressing them, because we don't want to show this sad part of us because sadness is weakness, or we're ashamed of our jealousy and envy because I should be grateful for what I have right now. So we don't trust those instincts that are telling us, your life could be so much better. Like, push yourself more. Look at these people around you that are, excelling. Like, you have the capability to do that. Like, leaning into those instinctual, uncomfortable feelings and trusting them and using them to guide us in our life, or whether it be anxious parts of us, like when we're in certain social situations, instead of listening to that part of us and allowing it to guide us to potentially be like, hey, like maybe this isn't the environment that's right for me. These people may not be right for me. This relationship may not be right for me. This job may not be right for me. I'm just going to reject this uncomfortable instinct that my body is releasing in my being and drink some alcohol, or, just perform some other type of addiction to offer some temporary short-term hit of pleasure, so I don't have to face that part of me because of the discomfort that will occur upon doing so. So shadow work is going in and connecting with those parts of you to become your true, authentic self.
That's beautiful, mate. I love that. And shadow work's been a big part of my journey last 6 to 12 months with the men's work that I do. So I love how you said that. And also, you might have answered your question, but my question was, what does integration mean to you in all aspects of the word? So we talk about being integral, and I was wondering if you'd like to touch on that, about what integration means to you in your journey.
Okay. So integration for me currently, with my current understanding of it, is that there is parts of myself that I may not be consciously aware of right now that are running on autopilot and are a part of these deep underlying dynamics that are manifesting themselves out on the surface of my life right now, whether it's in the form of procrastinating certain things or avoiding certain things or getting triggered about certain things. So rather than identifying myself with the surface of these manifestations, integration for me is consciously, with compassion and with inquiry, going deeper into these surface layer manifestations and uncovering where they stem from. And then from there, if there is some resistance towards connecting with that part of me, going in and showing that part of me love, acceptance, forgiveness, wherever it is and wherever that part of me comes from, or where I learned that part of me. And from there, integration is being able to look at all these different parts of me with understanding, with compassion, and with love. And that doesn't mean that, if there's this highly judgmental, critical, fucking harsh part of me there. It's just like, hey, yeah, come, bro. Like, you just dominate my life now because I've accepted you. But it's that whenever that part of me does become a part of my experience in any type of moment, I'm able to, instead of judging myself or anything like that and creating further stress and compounding it, I'm able to see that part of me with compassion, understanding, and love, and therefore being able to comfort myself and self-soothe myself as a whole, to bring my nervous system back to balance, and allow myself to embody whatever part of me is most serves me at that moment in time.
Yeah, and that's really important. You touched on the nervous system, isn't it? Like, how many times sometimes we just need to take a breath and like come back to nature, ground ourselves, because in a world full of information and go, it's just so important just to put ourselves back to what we like to do, not what we see on Instagram. Because I always keep saying to a lot of people that if you need support, there's a great content and there's great people out there, but social media isn't therapy. If you need support, there's other avenues as well. Yeah. So
Yes.
Beautiful share, mate. I'd love to know, as I've only just started following you a few months ago and watching your reels and watching your journey, and just what it spoke to me, it was just what really spoke to me is about the spiritual world. And what really got me laughing for a long time was we talk about the entrepreneurs, we talk about the code word of spirituality. And before I get into that next question, I'd actually love to know a little bit about your own personal development. What made you get into the healing space, and was there a turning point in your life to become a coach and offer your wisdom to others?
Alrighty. So spent my earlier years being highly aggressive, angry, depressed, isolated, anxious, projecting, insecure, addicted to pornography. Then that manifested into being addicted to sex workers. I was addicted to video games. I used to spend like 16 hours a day in my room, isolated, just playing video games. Then there was a phase where I was spending a lot of time performing somewhat antisocial behavior, street fights, got robbed a few times at knife point, bashed on the street, knocked out, jumped, bottled, just those types of experiences as well. And then the first real thing that kind of got me on track and got me into more self-development was boxing. So it was after quite a traumatic street fight that me and a friend got into, where we got jumped by like 7 older, bigger dudes, and we got knocked out and our heads were getting stomped on. It was quite intense. Like just experiencing something like that was like, wow, okay, people will do that, and I think after that, I just reached this point where I just really felt just like, I'm fucking worthless. Like, I can't even defend myself. And at that time, I felt like this responsibility that I should be able to be this strong alpha protector, because I was the man of the house at that time. 3 sisters, single mum. My dad left when I was 8 years old, and he wasn't very present at all in our lives, nor financially supportive. We were living in housing commission and, really struggling financially. And so it's like I took it upon myself to be this overly responsible, masculine energy to, essentially like fill that void that was missing in our family unit. And then it was that moment where, got bashed, and it was like, fuck, how am I supposed to protect my family now? If we get robbed, and, our house did get robbed when I was like, 12. So there was like kind of a fear that, what if it happens again? Who's going to be there to protect? And at that time, I just, my response was like just immediate, like, that's it. I'm going to go join this local boxing gym. It was a PCYC gym. Awesome. It's like a local police citizen youth club. And then I just started going there and training, and my mum paid for the first month. Like, it was like $30. I must have been like 15 years old, and I just started working at McDonald's, and I was like, okay, got to make some money. And then then I just started training like every day religiously for like 2 hours a day. And I just didn't really know what I was doing. But I used to watch Mike Tyson videos, and I just go in there and just start boxing and smashing. And essentially what it became was a healthy, safe space for me to express my anger that I had towards my father. At that time, that's where a lot of my anger came from, and resentment. And it was a safe space for me to express that. And in the same token, like it was like, like my body was getting fitter, I was getting stronger, and that kind of started to build this confidence within me. And I started getting better, and I was like, okay, fuck, like I'm actually getting good at something. Because at that time, like I wasn't doing very well at school at all, like failing in most of my subjects, and no effort really. I'd just be like, oh, what's the point? We don't have any money. I'm not going to go to uni anyway. And like, so I just had lots of limitations on myself there. But boxing was like the only thing at that time. I was like, I'm kind of okay at this. And then that led into me getting into, because they had like a little weight section with like these rusty dumbbells and stuff. And I used to use that too, like a really old school looking gym. And then I started using the weights, and then the weights started to build my body, and I started getting more muscles. And I was like looking in the mirror, and I'm like, oh my God, maybe I can get girls, because I used to have very low confidence with women as well. So I just started to get more confident and developing myself, and then in doing so, I wasn't spending nowhere near as much time on the street hanging out with other youth that were smoking ciggies, getting into fights, just spending hours there, more focused on the social hierarchy in that area. And in the same token too, I wasn't playing video games anymore, because it was like, okay, like fuck, I'm training now. So I started disconnecting from a lot of those things that were offering me a short-term, temporary sense of connection with these people, because it was like, okay, yeah, we're together, we'll protect each other. Or the video games that was like, yeah, get lost in some fantasy world because to escape your reality. So that was my gateway. Then I got into weights, and then at that time, I was working in and out of like just casual like retail and Coles, and working at the cinemas, just trying to like make whatever money I could. And then, it got to the point where I'm like, what the fuck do I want to be doing in my life? And then I heard there was this guy, this personal trainer that was a PT at like a gym I was training at that time. I must have been like, like 17 years old. And I heard he was making like $3,000 a week. And I was like, no way, man, what the fuck? And he's me, 17 years old, living in housing commission, fucking like poor as fuck. And I'm like, I'm kind of fit, and I'm like, you know what, I'll just be a personal trainer. Why not? Like, I like to help people. And I was kind of like training some of my friends at the time, because they saw like the progress I was making. So I was like, I'll be a personal trainer. And then studied PT. I just passed. I got like just over 50, but then I procrastinated working as a PT for like a year, because it's like, oh no, I'm not going to be good. You got to pay rent, and fuck, man, scary running your own business, lots of limitations. And then essentially when I turned, I think it was like 22. So, before then I was working at retail that I stepped in, and I just decided to go, fuck it, I'm going to work at this gym, start paying rent, running my own business. And then worked as a PT for 8 years. And then during that time, just fell in love with helping people. I actually became really good at it. I was one of the most successful trainers at the first gym I worked at, and the second gym I worked at, I became one of the most successful trainers in that gym too. Built a great business, really became passionate at helping people, relating to people as well. I found like I was quite a great people person. And and then through helping people, it really motivated me to want to learn more about like the human body, like stress, and that effects on like emotional eating, and like nutrition and sleep and mental health, and mindset and psychology, and the like anatomy and all these different parts, like how to lose body fat, like all these different things at that time that that was in demand for people in relation to when they would hire a coach. And then 8 years, and COVID hit, And well, just before that, actually, I started, I wasn't spending money on alcohol, drugs, clothes. Like, I was saving my money and I was traveling, and I decided to go fucking Africa, South America, Europe, Middle East, Himalayas, Nepal, Pakistan, like
Beautiful.
Rwanda, Uganda. Like, I was just going
Wow.
to all these different countries because I loved traveling, and
Mm,
I found it to be so much like I was getting so much development from it. And I was
absolutely.
traveling, yeah, and I was just traveling to, like, slums and villages and tribes and nature, like, and every time I'd come back to Sydney, I'm like, fuck, man, like, everything that I thought was true and real was just all fucking lie. It's bullshit. Like, here, and I just became more grateful, and going spending time with these monks here and tribal, like, it's just opened my mind up a lot. Now, COVID hit, business in the city shut down, my gym closed down at that time. And straight away, I had this instinct where it's like, business is never going to be the same in the city. Here's this business I built up for 8 years. I'm like, fuck, what am I going to do? All these emotions started rising up. At that time, I was like, yeah, man, I'm so chill. I'm meditating every day. I've been to Africa and I've climbed up the fucking Himalayas, But then COVID hit and I'm fucking stressing out about money and what's going on in the world and all this stuff. And then at that time, I'm like, fuck, I can't travel now as a way for me to, like, seek this enlightened state and peace. Like, I got to find it within me now. And that's what got me into shadow work 3 years ago. So then I got in, studied shadow work. And at the time, it was more just for myself, but I found it to be so transformative. And then I started using it for my coaching clients at that time for their physical health. And then I just found that I just started veering more and more and more and more just towards shadow work and doing that type of work. And now I've been doing that ever since. And yeah, I've just really fell in love with it.
That's amazing. I love your passion. I love just the realness of it. We're talking about you've done all this work and then you've done all this travel, and like Sydney, I can only imagine. I do have family in Sydney, and I was in Brisbane at the time when COVID first hit 2019. I don't even know what it is, 2021. What year's relevant, but it just feels like we've got all these skills, and as a coach and you've done all this, it's like, what the point is, it's okay to feel these emotions. And just parking that thought, we're talking about your relation with your dad. I think it's really beautiful how you said that, because as men, anger used to be like, oh, don't be angry. But it's like, now I see a lot of men just really angry, but it's important for them to release that, because you just see, if you walk in the city or you walk around anywhere and you just look at people and like, well, they've got so much anger. And if you don't release it naturally, when I say naturally, not taken out on anyone, you can actually impact others. So yeah, all those bits were golden. And just, yeah, honoring your truth and respect. And it's nice to hear your journey on another avenue as well.
Thanks, brother.
And also would love to know, we talk about inner child. So you've come from the background where you are now, and now you're empowering others for your wisdom. So people out there with inner child wounds, what would you say to them? So what's your relationship now? And what was it like in the past with your inner child?
I think my relationship in the past with my inner child was just like, I just didn't know it was even there. I didn't even know it was a thing. And I guess the behaviors and the reactions that would come from the wounds of my inner child, I just associated that with being who I was and identified myself with it, even if there weren't something pleasant to identify myself with. I used to identify myself as being an angry person. Mm-hmm. And and it was actually one of my nicknames in high school, aggro. And it was, I just thought it was who I was, and so I think, through doing this type of work, it was more like really just understanding how much like what happened to us in childhood really does shape our personality, and how our personality creates our personal reality. And so for me, the relationship started building when I started like remembering things from my childhood and acknowledging it and understanding it, and like, wow, okay, yeah, I can see how, because my dad wasn't present when I was a young boy. I felt lonely and I didn't feel like I was good enough for his love. And I could see how when I was 11 years old and I first went to my older cousin's house, he put on pornography in front of me and my eyes lit up and it felt like I was fucking taking a big hit of heroin. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? And in that moment, the loneliness dissipated and I felt this temporary connection to whatever the fuck I was watching. And then that eventually became like a learned pattern. And then that's what got me hooked on pornography. And then in my 20s, I'd be watching it twice a day. And like, don't even get me started on my teens, but like in my 20s, when I came to the realization, like, hey, you know, it's probably not a fucking good idea to do this. And I heard some studies that if you watch porn, it really, you know, it skews your perception of what a female body should look like and what sex and intimacy should be. You know, essentially we're just seeing this fake orgasms and, you know, dick pills, and we're only seeing like a certain type of vagina and a certain type of cock, and it's like that's what they look like and this is how you got to have sex. How it does skew your perception of what that intimacy and deep connection truly can be. And you know, when I came to this realization, I'm like, okay, cool, logically I know this now, but subconsciously I got these like drivers that is like attracting me towards this behavior. You know, why am I doing it? And then it's when I started going through introspection and creating those links, like, it's because, you know, I'm using it as a way to prevent me from feeling lonely, because lonely is stressful and it's uncomfortable and it's painful. Where does that pain come from? It comes from these moments in my childhood, and then releasing the pain, purging it, and being able to show myself love throughout it, and then also give myself permission to relapse in order to reinforce the pattern of giving myself love again and again and again and again.
No, and what I love about that is, and the whole conversation as well, is people use a variety of coping mechanisms. It can be healthy, like all types of like plant medicines can be great, but also overdosing on plant medicine and having too much is bad. So like working out's great. Like as you said, you're like, bugger this. I hate getting assaulted. I need to protect my family. It's a noble thing to do. Boxing's great. It's great for the endorphins, as we know, and great for that release. But if people just do those type of things and not doing the work, then it's like working out 7 days a week, but then also having burgers every night of the week. So I loved how you touched on that and how you kind of integrated all that with your work that you do now. I also didn't give you a chance as well to talk about what's coming up for you and what is next for you. I'd love the viewers to know where they could find you and what you do as a coach, and what are these beautiful programs I saw in the video. There's something like that on the Gold Coast. It's like a connection group of drumming and food and laughter. I can't wait to hear more about it.
Nice, bro. So a few things that are coming up for me. I'm building a course, and it's essentially going through all the different modules of learning about perception, the nervous system, the shadow, trauma, emotions, belief systems, values, like just every single component in regards to shadow work and inner child work. Also talking about physical health, sleep, managing stress, nutrition, exercise, all these different components, meditation, breath work. Creating a course for that. That's going to be connected to my program that I already have live at the moment now. It's a community of people that are all on this shadow work healing journey together. We've got about 40 members now, and it's growing. We've got people all around Australia and UK. And that's something that the main thing that I'm building now. Some other things that are coming up for me too. So I run this community every Sunday. We meet up at North Bondi, and it's a sober static dance drum party, and it's a mixture of African, Brazilian, Middle Eastern style beats, and people all come together and dance. It's multicultural. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And some other things that I want to continue doing is I do these live workshops online, inner child workshop, masculine, feminine energy workshop. I've got a communication workshop coming up soon, which is all revolving around how to set boundaries, how to speak your truth, how to listen more effectively, how to ask better questions, essentially so that you can do things like have challenging conversations, being able to express how you feel to people, how to understand others, and how to have those conversations that really, the better they are, the better your life is going to get, whether it comes down to asking your boss for a raise or a job interview,
Yes.
or expressing to your partner how you feel, like all these different things that really, like, if we can become better communicators, we're going to be able to connect so much better, and life is just going to get so much better too. So that's something else I've got coming up as well. And yeah, just continuing to have fun on social media. Like, my intention with social media is to provide some, really challenging, just kind of truths about like ourselves that can be quite confronting, but also, delivering it in a humorous, light-hearted way. Because I think if there's no joy throughout this whole journey, then like, what's the point? Like, I think, the healing journey can be taken like really seriously sometimes. It's like, you must heal all your trauma. Like, it's just like, okay, like, all right. But I think that there needs to be some space to be able to have fun throughout it, and just, laugh about it, like just the journey in itself. I think it makes it, laughter is such a great coping mechanism, so allow yourself to laugh throughout it. Crying is a great coping mechanism too, but I think laughter is also very powerful. So finding space for humor on this journey. And what's great about that too is by doing so, you'll develop a very deep and dark sense of humor by doing so. So your jokes will get more kind of deep, which is great. It
100%.
enhances your sense of humor, and you have a better sense of humor, which is great. So yeah, that's that. And I want to do some more live workshops in person.
Beautiful.
And another big thing is I want to get back into traveling. The borders are opening up, and I'd love to go do some traveling and potentially live overseas in Central America. And
I can see that.
Yeah, just seeing where this all takes me. But yeah, I'd like to get back to some traveling now. I'd love to go and not only just travel for like a holiday, but like, connect it to my purpose, where I'm like going to connect with people that are in this work, whether it be some type of people that are, quite experienced, and, they're, in their own cultural way doing this type of stuff, and creating that space and bridging the gap to be able to share that wisdom with the Western world. I think a lot of the lessons that we forgot, because it's just became so warped in, go autopilot, just keep going, buying this, numbing that. And I think a lot of us in the West have, or, even in other cultures that have become very globalized, just lost our connection to our spiritual essence and what spirituality is. It doesn't have to be this woo-woo thing, or it doesn't have to be this like this book where it's like everything in this book is factually, logically correct. It's just this journey that we're going on to really understand who we are and why we are here.
Beautiful. And the biggest spiritual journey is having a business, because we get to see each other in the realm of things. So when you have a kid and you look at the kid and you just like, that's a whole perception of you. And it's like, if they're getting angry, it's like, where have you been angry in your life? So absolutely epic. There's incredible workshops that you're doing. I'm excited to continue watching and unfolding it. Before I go, I always ask this as well. And is there anything that you'd like to leave the audience, or something that I didn't ask that you'd like to touch on?
Yeah, there is something I'd like to share, and that is, whatever you're experiencing now, whatever your biggest struggle is, my message for you, regardless of what that is just to seek to understand it and be curious about understanding it. This isn't to, don't be too quick to try and change it or fix it or resolve it or anything like that. Just let go of that intention and go deeper in there with the intention to understand it, because by understanding it, you're going to be understanding yourself a lot more. And even if it's something that you may deem petty and insignificant and stupid, and I shouldn't be getting angry about this, or why is this stressing me out, or, I've got, I'm anxious in a social situation, there must be something wrong with me. Even if it's something ridiculously petty and from your logical lens, let go of that. And I encourage you just to seek to understand it, even on the surface, because that already, by doing that, is giving yourself compassion. And that is the gateway into going deeper into it, to understand it on an even deeper level. I think, all these struggles that we go through, people are very quick to judge themselves for it and condemn themselves for it and criticize themselves for it and be ashamed that they're struggling with it. And by doing so, you're just closing yourself up to, understanding it on a deeper level. And if you don't understand it, how are you going to give yourself compassion and acceptance for it? It's like you may have a friend that does something to you and you don't quite understand why they're doing it, but you have your own perceptual story behind it, which is logically correct in your eyes. And what are you going to do if you don't understand it? You're going to judge them. There's going to create a dichotomy between you. There's going to be some disconnect. And, until you actually understand it, and you may be like, your friend didn't come to your birthday party, and, you're like, oh, fuck, they didn't come. They should have came. They should have messaged me. But until you find out later on, like, the reason why they didn't come to my birthday party is because their dog died. And then, they're also emotionally, in pain that night, and they didn't even want to look at their phone, So when you understand it, you're like, oh, fuck. I get it. I understand. Seek to understand yourself, whatever you're struggling with, so that you can enable compassion, acceptance, and understanding.
That's amazing. Incredible. So I've just learned so much. And what I love about these conversations is learning and growth. And, if another door closes on you, look at another one. And I look at the world of entrepreneurs and spirituality and business, but it comes down to the point of, like, for me, it's just like, yep, I've done this course and this course and this course, and I've healed through this. But as you said, trauma is not a lifelong sentence, but it's also a thing that if we hide it, then we can't have compassion for what we've been through. So yeah, lovely end to it. And to be honest, talking about being better questions, I was just like in my own head about like 10, 20, 30 minutes ago before jumping, like, oh, what do I say? Who do it is? So it's just another edge for me to interview people. You're just a normal person in Sydney doing incredible things. So appreciate your time, and it's been really cool to dive into this, because this is my own unique journey as well through men's work and shadow work.
Good on you, brother. You're doing amazing things, Brodie. How long have you been doing this stuff for?
So I got into like the personal development healing space probably 5 years ago, but really getting into it about 3 years ago, into like masculine, feminine empowerment, men's work, NLP. Just really trying to find out who I was, because very similar, but own unique journey through parents' divorce, own mental health journeys, and finding out who I am behind all the names and labels that I had. So I appreciate your kind words.
Keep up the great work, brother. You're doing God's work, mate.
Thank you. Likewise to you. And I'm excited to publish this. This will be on YouTube. And how do we find you on Instagram and YouTube? Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, I do have a YouTube channel. I'm going to, not too much on there, but I've got a few podcasts on there and a few things there. But for anyone out there who would like to connect with me further, you can just type my name in. It's Charles Myssy, and my last name is Myssy. I'm sure there'll be some link attached to this episode in order to connect with me further. On Facebook, Instagram, TikTok as well. Recently got on TikTok. I think that's like the new thing. But yeah, if anyone would like to learn more about this, I have workshops coming up soon. You can always come to one of my workshops and register for that to find out a bit more. They're always a great way to just get a deeper understanding in more detail of what this whole thing is about, just to wrap your head around it, because it can be a bit like, what the fuck, where do I start?
Oh, amazing, brother. Thank you so much. And I'm excited for everybody to hear your story and then also learn from it. So once again, brother, appreciate you and excited for what's to come.
You're welcome, Brodie. Legend.
Take care.